Steve, at this point, we want to come to the fact if we're setting up a defense to guard our lives, basically, you've got to take in a couple areas. One is your eyes. We've talked about that. Now we've got to get to the mind. Our mind can do things on its own apart from the eyes. Then we've got to get to our heart and start us off. What's this thing you call the wild Mustang mind?
Well, let me mention one other thing before that. I used to smoke, and I would pray for God to take this addiction from me. And then one day, after quitting smoking 200 times, I decided I was going to do something different. Not only would I not smoke, but I would never, ever pick up a package of cigarettes again. So I was saying these fingers will never touch a package of cigarettes. And I said that these fingers will never touch a cigarette. So it wasn't just I wasn't going to smoke. I wasn't going to touch anything that had anything to do with tobacco. And shortly after I made that commitment, a pack of cigarettes fell out of his pocket, and he left them in my car. And I went into the house and got ice tongs and put them in the trash. Well, what I had done is I had put up 2 barriers before the final barrier of smoking. So it really changed everything, and it was the final stopping of smoking. Well, if you apply that same kind of concept here, if you don't want to be lustful or be controlled by sexual lust or be unfaithful to your wife or lack integrity, then you need several perimeters to help you and several barriers. Well, one is this eye barrier that we say. Bounce your eyes. Do like you'd see in an old 1940s movie. If a woman's blouse fell down, a man would look away as a gentleman. It was a natural thing. So we get back to that. But then when it comes to the mind, we are like Mustangs. Your mind is a Mustang mind, and you have a corral. And it's like there's this Mustang in this corral. Whatever gets in the corral with a real Mustang horse, that horse is programmed to have sex with it. And it's just going to do that. That's just what's going to happen. And we're the same way. As men, whatever we let into our corral, we're going to have a sexual experience with that. And so what we have to do is we have to open that gate and walk whatever it is we've let in that corral out. We also have to slam that corral and take captive every thought and not let it in the corral. For instance, you might see somebody at work and immediately start to sexualize them and fantasize about them. But I think, for me, it's important, walk them out of that corral, and you can do that by realizing, hey, this is a person that probably has body odor and is messy at home and probably is a pack rat and collects things and has kids that scream. And so you start to humanize people rather than let them live in the fantasy world, and it helps you take captive any of those thoughts. And the other thing is, there is only one way to be in control of your thoughts when it comes to a tempting relationship or someone that you may get in trouble with, and that is to not be around that person, to run from that temptation, to get them out of your mind and for you to remove yourself from proximity with them. That's how we can start to build, and then we can move into the heart and protect ourselves there. But you go from the eyes to the mind, and you have a clean mind, a clear mind that isn't allowing the old girlfriends to come back in, the images from the world, or whatever it is that you've come to obsess over in your lustful nature.
Shannon, you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, one of the most common emails that we get is from people who say, you know, I've stopped looking at pornography, but how do I ever get the images that I looked at decades ago out of my mind? And like Fred was saying, that is just emblazoned on your brain. Unfortunately, that's one of the consequences of sin. However, you can reframe that, and when those thoughts come into your mind, you can look at that as a spiritual marker in your life of, oh my gosh, look at what I allowed myself to take into my mind way back then. Praise God, I don't have to do that anymore. And that way you can feel as if that's a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block in your life.
Fred, we talked about the fact in your book you've got the mind, you say, if you put the guard points up, it becomes like a customs office where you come into another country. Talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, you know, a customs office for the United States is meant to keep dangerous things out of the United States. People, seeds, whatever it might be. Up until I made the decision to quit thinking about these things, my mind knew that it was perfectly acceptable to think about that old girlfriend anytime I wanted to. And if my mind wanted to go that direction, it would. But the thing I found is that as I put the disciplines into place, now thoughts of her never come up into my head. Steve